It's happening again. 78% of the chatters from my live stream community voted that Jessica Jones would be an S tier hero in Marvel Champions. We just saw the preview for Daredevil, and a lot of people are speculating that he may be the strongest hero in the game. It's crazy that right after he comes out, we get Jessica Jones, who may also contend for that top spot. It's crazy the power leveling of where Mario James is now, and I've always been on the side that Mario James does not have power creep, but it's hard to make that argument right now with Jessica Jones coming out right after Daredevil. I'm your friendly neighborhood Web-Warrior Fanatic, and in this video we'll be doing a recap of my live stream here, talking about all of Jessica Jones' cards, how her kit works, in a more digestible, shorter video than the live stream that we did. But if you are interested in watching me and the community in my live stream deep dive into every single Jessica Jones card, talk about it extensively, and deep dive into all the aspect cards, then I'll put the link to the live stream somewhere where you guys can click on. But yeah, this would just be a shorter recap version of that, and I would make a case of why Jessica Jones also looks like she's going to be an insanely powerful hero. And as usual, if you are enjoying my Marvel Champions content, please consider liking the video and subscribing. It really helps the channel out, and I think Sesame would appreciate it a lot as well. Say hi, Sesame. Oh, she's not saying hi, she's leaving. But yeah, okay, let's go ahead and go into Jessica Jones' kit here. So Jessica Jones in Alter Ego here has 4 recovery, 6 hand size, and 11 hit points. So she's already looking really good with above average hit points and above average recovery here. She has a civilian trait, and her action in Alter Ego is called Incognito Mode. Change to hero form. You cannot change back to Alter Ego form this phase. Okay, that is already pretty crazy because this does not count as your 1 form flip per turn. So obviously, if you use this to change the hero form, you can't just flip back down to Alter Ego. But if you start any turn in hero form, you can flip down to Alter Ego with your 1 manual flip per turn and immediately trigger the action here, Incognito Mode, to change right back up to hero form. She essentially has limitless alter ego access. So if you ever felt like, oh, I don't want the villain to scheme against me, but I need to recover, well, with Jessica Jones, you just flip down, exhaust Q for 4, and then flip right back up with the alter ego action. And cards like Crew Quarter goes insane with Jessica Jones because it's usually alter ego action, but you can trigger every single turn with Jessica Jones. So any of Jessica Jones's cards here that say like alter ego action, alter ego action, alter ego action, you can basically do that every single turn. You don't really have that restriction of being in alter ego because you will access your alter ego every single turn if you want to and flip right back up to hero form without any like detriment or any loss of tempo or anything like that. So that's a crazy strong alter ego ability here. And for a setup, you put the Alias Investigation support into play. So that's Jessica Jones' main mechanic here. She has a permanent support that will start off in play whenever you play every single game as Jessica Jones, and you can never get discarded because it is permanent. So Alias Investigations is the support right here. As a response, after its side scheme is defeated, you can exhaust this card and you place 2 evidence counters here. Then you may remove evidence counters from here equal to the villain's remaining hit points to defeat the villain's current stage. Okay, what does that mean? That basically means that if you want to defeat the villain, Jessica Jones presents a new win condition in Marvel Champions. She is the only hero to have a new win con in the entire game. Normally, you have to do what the villain wants, right? Normally, you either bring the villain's hit points down to 0, or you clear off like the main scheme, or like advance through main schemes. Basically, there's different mechanics, but you do whatever the villain wants. Jessica Jones is the first hero where you can do what she wants, and if you get enough evidence counters on this card, you can pop it and you can defeat a villain stage, including the villain's final stage, and just knock them right out and win the game. That is a pretty crazy effect here. One thing to mention with that keeps this card more in balance is that after a side scheme is defeated, you have to exhaust this card. So this card can only be used if it's readied up and right after anyone defeats the side scheme. As long as the side scheme is defeated, it doesn't have to be Jessica Jones defeating it herself. But yeah, so there are no side schemes in play. You are not able to exhaust the card and place 2 evidence counters here. You have to make sure that you are defeating the side scheme, and right after that happens, you can trigger the response and potentially win the game if you have enough counters on this card. So thinking, okay, maybe it's going to be hard for Jessica Jones to get counters. It is pretty easy for her to get counters. If you look at her hero side right here, her hero ability is called Gather Evidence. As a response, after you use a basic power, you place 1 evidence counter on your Alias Investigation. So each time you use a basic power, thwart, attack, or defense, you place a counter on this card. And yeah, let's get into her hero form here. 11 hit points, 5 hand size, that's That's pretty good with the above average hit points and your regular hand size. But her stat line is very unique. It's 3 Thor, 2 attack, 1 defense. We've never seen this line before in Marvel Champions, and it's pretty cool to see. And it's probably even better than the what I normally say is like the ideal stat line, and most people also agree. The ideal stat line is like a 2-2-2, right? 2 Thor, 2 attack, 2 defense. Now that we've seen Jessica Jones, I think that this is the new ideal stat line. 3 Thor, 2 attack, 1 defense is way better than 2-2-2. Like, her stat line is insane. In true solo, a lot of side schemes are 3 per player threat. In true solo, you're only 1 player, so it's going to be 3 threat. That includes player side schemes and actual encounter card side schemes, and she can kill that by herself, just defeat a side scheme with just 1 threat activation. And you have an incentive to activate with your basic threat activation with your response to gather evidence to place a counter on your alias investigation. So yeah, it's crazy. She's a side scheme killer. You can include like, I don't know, 10 side schemes in her deck, and she kills almost all of them with just 1 basic threat activation. And you have incentive to thwart with her because of the response right here. That's insane. You know, defense is, you know, the least valued stat, and thwarting is the most highly valued stat. So to get, you know, 1 less defense for 1 extra thwarting from that 2-2-2 stat line, it's well worth it. So yeah, just her hero card here alone. I mean, there's no extra economy or anything, but like, this is looking great. This looking great. This looking great. And then the alter ego ability looking great with the free alter ego access. And then for recovery, she's looking bonkers, guys. Like, Justice alone, like, this is like one of the best identity cards in the game of Marvel Champions. To have the flexibility here to flip up and down and to have the 3 printed thwart, right? There's not a lot of heroes in the game of Marvel Champions that starts off the game with 3 thwart. I believe right now it's just Phoenix, Psylocke, and Spectrum that can get 3 thwart, you know, on turn 1, even if they don't draw into any other cards. And Jessica Jones is going to join them here. But Jessica Jones, I think she has the most well-rounded type of stat line with that 3 thwart, because she also has 2 attack while simultaneously having 3 thwart. For his other heroes, if you have 3 thwart, you only have 1 attack. So yeah, Jessica Jones is kind of in a category of her own here. Okay, let's look at all of her cards here. So we actually counted all the cards in Jessica Jones' kit, and we've actually seen every single card from the preview article. It's shown everything except for 2 upgrades right here, the 14 out of 16 card and the 15 out of 16 card. That's insane. We've seen everything else, literally everything else. We know that there's 2 copies of Big Mistake, and we know that there's 3 copies here of the Thor event snooping around. So I have all the cards laid out right here, and I have this listed right here, and I will also put in the description of this video, you know, all these cards numbered right here in order, if you guys want to copy and paste and like try to, like, you know, theory craft some like cool deck builds with her. But yeah, so her first card here is the 1 out of 16. She has 16 cards instead of 15 because of the permanent support here. So her next card is going to be her identity-specific ally, Luke Cage. 3 cost ally, 2 Thor, 2 attack, 3 hit points, defender trait, toughness. As an action, you can exhaust Luke Cage and deal damage to him to give him a tough status card. You know, that's a pretty solid effect. Pretty solid stat here to have toughness, so he can chump block for you. His effect is a little bit a slower tempo, right? Because you have to exhaust him, deal damage to get a tough, and then he can defend for you, you know, during the villain phase. But then whenever he's defending with those toughs, he stays exhausted, right? Because you ready up after the player phase. So if you defend with him during the villain phase, he'll start your next player phase exhausted. So you have to wait another turn to you know, ready him back up when the villain phase begins, and then you have to wait for the next player phase to exhaust him again to deal damage. You get a tough again if you want to keep on blocking with him, right? He blocks for you basically every other turn, not every turn like directly, but it's still very good to have that blocker, you know, on the table for you. And if you're not using this action here, he's still a great sideline ally to have 2 thwart, 2 attack, 3 hit points, and toughness. That's well worth taking double consequent damage for each activation. So definitely a solid ally. Probably one of the weaker cards in your kit, which is crazy to say because he is a very solid ally in his own right. Let's look at her attack event here. Big Mistake. She's got 2 copies of this card, and this is her only attack event in her kit. So we don't know the last 2 upgrades here, but from what we've seen, she has really no other way to do damage except for with her basic activation and with the Big Mistake right here. So it's a 1 cost event. It's a hero action. You can do 3 damage to an enemy, and you may remove 1 evidence counter from your alias investigations to do 2 additional damage with this event, and the attack can either have overkill or piercing. So that's really good, because if you're paying 1 cost here, removing 1 counter from this card to do 5 damage and have overkill, or do 5 damage and have piercing, That is very, very good. I think the piercing is more valuable to like pierce off the tough and do 5 damage right away. Yeah, this is a great attack event. I wish she got 3 copies. She only has 2 though, and the cost is not that bad at all to just take off 1 counter from here to do 2 additional damage, right? 1 for 3 is already, pretty well costed. 1 for 5 is absolutely insane. So yeah, this is a really good card here. The next card is Breakthrough. She only has 1 copy of this event. It's a 0-cost event, and it's as a response, so use this during the player phase or the villain phase as long as you meet the timing window for this. After an evidence counter is placed on Alias Investigation, so after any counter is put on this card, you can play your Breakthrough card right here, this event, ready your identity, and you shuffle this card into your deck. So if it's during the player phase and Jessica Jones stores for 3, you place a counter with your gathered evidence here, because the response after using base power, you place a counter on Alias Investigations. You can then play Breakthrough, ready back up, shove this back into your deck, and then throw it again for 3. Pretty good. And in the villain phase, if you're defending with Jessica Jones, right, after you exhaust to defend, you will use a base power, place a counter on this card. You can play Breakthrough during the villain phase as well, and you can, ready up Jessica Jones immediately after she defends, and then shove this card into your deck. So although it's only 1 copy and it's an insanely powerful card, it feels like there's more than 1 copy because it shuffles back into your deck. And during my live stream, I had a poll asking you guys, what is the strongest, like best card in Jessica Jones's kit? And you guys voted that Breakthrough is the strongest card. It was a pretty close poll though. The other card is Calling in Favors. That was a very close second, but Breakthrough won now. And yeah, I think that it's definitely a toss-up between these two. I could definitely see the argument for Breakthrough being the best card. A 0-cost ready is really, I don't know, it's really close to power creep in the game right now. For free, you can get it ready up. And I mean, you can say, okay, there's a response. It's only after an evidence counter is placed on Alias Investigations, right? But there's so many ways to place counters. You guys will see so many more cards in your kit that places counters on this card. This card can place counters itself, right? Because if you play like a Thor event, like let's say Jessica Jones is exhausted and you play a Thor event, clear off all the threat on a side scheme and you defeat the side scheme, you can trigger this response here and place 2 counters on the card. When you do that, you can play a Breakthrough because evidence counter was placed on this card to ready up Jessica Jones through Breakthrough. So a lot of cool tactical combos that you can do with Jessica Jones and Breakthrough here to give her more readies. The next card in your kit is going to be Snooping Around. So this card, I don't think it's the strongest card, but it's my favorite card in your kit. I think that the theme on this card is just on point. Jessica Jones, if you guys have seen the Netflix / Disney Plus show, she's always sneaking around. She like may get caught, and I think that the theme and flair of this card encapsulates that perfectly. So it's a powerful card in its own right, right? So I love the art here. She has like a book in a library, and she's like just snooping around. So hopefully the villains don't catch her. 0-cost event, so it's free to play. It is a Thor event, but it's an alter ego action, so we gotta be careful that we can only play this card in alter ego form. But like we said earlier, she can flip down to alter ego every single turn and flip back up to hero form as if nothing happened, right? So alter ego action Thor, remove 4 threat from his scheme. 4 threat, and place 2 evidence counters on Alias Investigations. So you get 2 counters for your win con, and you can take 4 threat off for 0 cost. Every single time I'm reading a card in Jessica Jones' kit during the live stream, I was like, holy cow, she's getting stronger. Why does she keep getting better as we're reading her cards? This is very reminiscent of the Daredevil article. Each card that I kept reading of his, I was like, he just keeps on getting better and better. And Jessica Jones is very similar to that. So crazy, 0 cost, 4 threat removal, and 2 evidence counters. However, there is a negative effect. I say negative because you can also make it positive, but I think most of the time it's going to be a detriment. You must discard the top card of the encounter deck. And if the card is a minion or a side scheme, you must reveal that minion or side scheme. So I love that because it's so thematic for the card, right? You're snooping around, and basically there's a risk. You're taking a risk when you're snooping around, and you may get caught. And if you get caught, and it's a side scheme or minion, you have to reveal that minion or side scheme. If you get like a big elite minion with villainous, that's terrible. It's not worth the 4 threat. Or if you get a side scheme that is like really bad, then it may also not be worth the 4 threat removal. I will also add that, with this card here, it really encapsulates how Jessica Jones scales at higher player counts. I think that she's going to be a much stronger hero in true solo. And I think that in multiplayer, especially at 4 player count, she's much better balanced, right? So assuming around here, right, if you play this card in true solo, you take 4 threat off from a scheme. And if you get another side scheme with this ability right here, the side scheme will maybe have like, 3 per player threat. So in true solo, it's only 3 threat. If you're playing in multiplayer, to play a Thor event to take 4 threat off a scheme, you risk getting a 3 per player that side scheme, which in 4 player is 12 threat. So I don't think it's worth Thor for 4 to get a 12 threat side scheme on top of that, right? So yeah, if you can try that with like the blindfold ally or the gambit ally, that can make this card a lot better to know what the top card is. I think that should be a good pairing here with the Falcon hero as well. But yeah, definitely a much stronger hero for True Solo. And that also works with the alias investigations as well, right? Because you want to be able to have the same amount of counters on his card as the villain's actual remaining hit points. So if the villain has like, let's say like Venom Goblin stage 3 has 21 per player per hit points. In True Solo, you just gotta get 21 counters on his card to burst down stage 3 of Venom Goblin. In multiplayer, 21 times 4, that's 84 hit points. So like, you won't be able to get 84 counters on this card because Jessica Jones's effects do not scale at higher player counts, right? Each time she uses the basic power, you get an evidence counter here. It's going to be hard for other people to help you build your own evidence counters for Jessica Jones. So at higher player counts, you need other players to help you whittle down the health of Venom Goblin. And once you get him down to like, 20 remaining hit points, then you pop Ace Investigations for that 20 evidence counters to defeat that final stage of the villain, right? So definitely a lot stronger in True Solo, and she may break the game in True Solo, but I think that for multiplayer, she's going to be very well balanced and a lot of fun to play. So yeah, that's how Snooping Around works. Next, we got piecing it all together. It's her player side scheme here. This is a 9 out of a 16 card. So this scheme does not count towards the player side scheme limit. That's all very good because it's master plan bait, right? So if you have a master plan in the encounter and you play this card, you just leave it in play, and if master plan comes out, you place 4 on this side scheme, and the master plan fizzles, right? So that's a great card as a bait for that. Comes with 6 threat. This also does not scale for multiplayer. So, any player can throw from this. So if you're getting this in multiplayer, it's easier to have someone else help you throw it out. In True Soul, it's not bad because Jessica Jones throwing it's insane. She can throw for 3, play breakthrough, ready back up, throw for 3 again, and just kill this by herself. But when it's defeated, the defeating player can draw 3 cards, so the effect also does not scale per player, which I think is balanced. It's a strong player side scheme, does not have the victory word, so it goes into your discard pile and will go back into your shuffle, back into your deck. You can play this and clear this multiple times per game, which she wants to do to get more evidence counters on this card and to be that last side scheme potentially for you to clear off and get your win conditioning of getting enough counters equal to the villain's remaining health to like defeat that villain like right away. So this is a great card for a kit. Next, we have the 10th card in her kit right here, which is called Calling in Favors. So this is the other card that my chat was saying is potentially the strongest card in Jessica Jones' kit. And yeah, I don't disagree. It is really, really high up there with Breakthrough. It's a 1-cost support as an R2 action, but remember, Jessica Jones' R2 actions are basically the same as like hero actions because you use it every single turn, freely flipping form infinitely throughout the game. So not infinitely every single turn, like it's only one time, per turn, but infinitely in terms of like every single turn you can do it. So you have access to your alter ego and hero form every single turn. So alter ego action, remove 2 evidence counters from Ace Investigations right here. So you do lose 2 evidence counters. But you exhaust this card, and then you search your deck for an ally, and you play it as if you're in your hand, reducing its cost by 2. That's insane. So one thing to note with the balance for this card is that it is only from your deck. So if your ally is in your discard pile or in your hand, you cannot play it as if you're in your hand, reduce its cost by 2. It's only for if it's still actually in your deck. However, this card is really powerful because even on turn 1, it's very cost efficient, right? So the effective resource, the ER to play this card is 2, right? Because you're playing the card itself and also a resource to play the card, right? So 2 ER to get Calling in Favors down. Then Calling in Favors can play an ally from your deck, reducing its cost by 2. So you're saving the actual effective resource of the ally card itself and 2 more resource. So you're actually saving 3 ER by playing a 2 ER card. So even if you play this card and use it right on the turn that you play it, you're already refunding its cost back in any future turn where this card will just stay in play forever. If you trigger it, you can search for the ally and play for very, very cheap, right? So just to do a really quick math for you guys, right? If you guys have Nick Fury, the basic ally in your hand, if you want to play Nick Fury, he's 5 ER, right? The card himself and 4 resource, right? So 5 ER for Nick Fury. If you're calling in Nick Fury with Calling in Favors, he's only going to be 2 costs to play. So it's only 2 ER for Nick Fury if you're using this card right here. So the 2 ER for the card plus 2 ER for Nick Fury is only 4 ER, which is much cheaper than actually playing the ally straight from your hand. So yeah, this is a really good card. It's not a card that I want to use every single turn because you lose your counters from here if you're using this constantly. But if you're in a situation where you need an ally to block for you or you just need an ally to help you thwart or attack, it's great to just on demand call in a favor here from the ally. Very thematic. Yeah, love the flair on this card as well. I think this card is also pretty well balanced because of the evidence counters that's required. You're not going to be spamming this every single turn, but it's a card that you want to use and it's going to help you out a lot through a lot of different situations. Next, we got Jessica Jones's 4K digital camcorder. It's a 2-cost upgrade to item traded here. And as an alternate action, you can exhaust this card, choose a non-elite minion, remove X counters from your Alias Investigations permanent support, and then X is equal to 2 less than the minion's remaining hit points, and then you can discard that minion. So it's really cool because you can bypass when defeated effects from minions. You guys know I hate the Hydra patrol. That's like my most hated minion in the game because it's not that tough, but the one defeated is you get an encounter card. So if you discard the minion with this ability right here, you won't be getting an encounter card, which is pretty powerful, and it's on demand. So she is easily clearing off non-elite minions. Although you do have to, remove your counters here, I think it's pretty well worth it to just discard the minions and not have to worry about them at all. So this can be like her main source of minion control. It only works for non-elite minions though. So you have a big elite minion, it's going to be tougher for Jessica Jones to take out. She'll basically have to play her attack event here or get a bunch of readies with breakthrough and other like aspect cards and basic cards. Next, we got her leather jacket here. That's another item card here. 2-cost upgrade again. Jessica Jones gets +2 defense, going up to 3 defense for a 3/2/3 stat line. That's pretty good. And as a response, after you defend, you place one evidence counter on your Alias Investigations. So another great way to place counters on your Alias Investigations. Yeah, I'm a great card. A great hook and protection for her. If you want to play perfect defense, she has a good incentive to play that because you can spam defending, right? And each time you defend with her, if you use your basic defense, you actually get 2 counters if you have your jacket in play, right? Because after you defend, you place a counter, and after you use a basic power, like a basic defense, you get a counter as well. So if you exhaust to defend, you get 2 counters on your Alias Investigations. If you're just playing like a defensive event to defend, you'll just get the 1 from the leather jacket. One thing to note is that with the leather jacket, it does not have to exhaust to use. So you can defend 2-3 times in a villain phase. You can place 3 counters on your Alias Investigation and get your win con up even quicker. So yeah, she's got the great protection hook here, and she's got a great leadership hook right here with the calling in favors because you can really like synergize with calling in allies and recurring them. Or you can like Voltron Luke Cage as well to give him more readies for him to trigger his action and have him be higher tempo. So yeah, a lot of cool hooks there, and obviously she's going to be a great Justice hero because all her stuff is all revolving around clearing off side schemes and thwarting and all of that stuff. So including a bunch of player side schemes and like some side scheme shenanigans with her in the Justice aspects also going to be very good. Next, we got her Circumstantial Evidence here. It's a 1-cost upgrade. It's also item traded, and as a response, after an enemy is defeated, you can exhaust this card and you place an evidence counter on his investigations. So basically, every single time a minion is defeated or like you defeat the stage of villain, you can just exhaust this and get a counter. Just an easy, cheap, on-demand way to build up your evidence counters on your Alias Investigation. So just a great card to help you build out those counters. Nothing crazy with this, but a great card that helps Jessica Jones' kit. And that is the 13 out of 16 card. We only know the 16 out of 16 card next with Stakeout right here, and we do not know 14 out of 16 and 15 out of 16. So 2 blank cards here that we're not sure exactly what they are, but we know for sure that they're upgrades because we know how Fantasy Flight games like to order their cards. All the upgrades are ordered together, events ordered together, allies and supports, side skins are all ordered together. So since we know that these are all upgrades right here, we're missing 2 cards between this and this. We know it's 2 more upgrades. She's going to have a total of 5 different upgrades in her kit, which is pretty crazy. And then the last card here is called Stakeout. It's a 0-cost upgrade. It's a tactic card. As an action, if this card is in your play area, and we'll talk about it in the live stream, but in your play area means it's not in the villain's play area. It's not like attached to like an encounter card already, right? So if this card is in your play area, you attach it to a non-permanent encounter side scheme. Okay, what does that mean? So you play this card for free. It's a 0-cost card. You play it in your upgrade area, so it's in your play area. You can either trigger this action immediately, right, and attach this to a non-permanent encounter side scheme, or you can wait for a encounter card side scheme to come out, like in a future turn, like a nasty one, and then whenever it comes out, then during the player phase, you can trade this action and move this card over to attach it to that side scheme. So it's two different ways that you can play this card. It's either, high tempo, you do it immediately, you just play it, trade the action, or you can save it for like a clutch situation where you get like a very nasty side scheme. So that's how this will work. This is not attached to player side schemes because it says only for non-permanent encounter side schemes. A fun thing that people mentioned in my live stream is that this can attach to Hercules' Hydra side scheme, which is pretty fun because that is an encounter card, and it will help Hercules thwart it more, but other players still cannot thwart it. Let's read the interrupt here. So basically, when any character thwarts this attached scheme that Stakeout is attached to, the thwart will do 2 additional threat removal. If that thwart defeats the attached scheme, which definitely one of the thwarts that's thwarting will defeat at some point, you will place 2 evidence counters on your alias investigations. So essentially, like you can read this as, the way that I'm going to read it is basically like, when the side scheme is defeated, you get 2 counters on here, because if you're putting this card on a side scheme, it's going to be a thwart that defeats it. Like any character can be doing it. So let's say, for example, you're playing with Jessica Jones and a 2-handed game with Peter Parker Spider-Man. When Spider-Man thwarts this attached side scheme that this card is attached to, Spider-Man will thwart with his basic thwart stat of 1, but he'll get +2. So he's thwarting for 3. If that defeats the scheme, you get 2 counters here. Then if it doesn't defeat the scheme, Jessica Jones can thwart for 3 +2. So she's basically thwarting for 5 now, and that will probably defeat the scheme, and you can place 2 counters on here. So that's just really powerful. And then if you have a bunch of allies, like in True Solo, let's say you have 3 allies and they all have like 1 thwart each. If you put Stake on a side scheme, each ally that had 1 thwart is now thwarting for 3 from that side scheme. That's really good value, right? For a 0 cost upgrade, you're basically playing 0 cost to minimum get +2 thwarting if just 1 character thwarts it. That's well worth it already. This card is the 1 card in Jessica Jones kit that actually works better in multiplayer, because if you attach this to a side scheme, there's more threat on side schemes in multiplayer, right? The 3 per player threat is going to be 12 threat, and you have more characters, more allies, and more heroes to help you thwart. So each time someone thwarts, they get +2. Pretty good card. Like all the cards here are good. This one's good for True Solo as well, but it's going to be better in multiplayer. All the other cards work a little bit better in True Solo, but yeah, that's going to be all of Jessica Jones' cards here. We've seen everything. We know 2 copies of Big Mistake, the attack event, 3 copies of the thwart event, and then we don't know these 2 upgrades right here. Okay, so what are my initial impressions of Jessica Jones? So the first thing that I want to note is that I love the design of this character. I think that she's very well designed. And I think for like the type of player that I am, I love living down to alter ego. I'm like an alter ego player at heart. This is like everything that I want in a hero, right? And I had a community poll for my chatters, and you guys agreed that you guys are more hyped for Jessica Jones than even Daredevil, and that you guys are loving her kit and her design, and you guys love this win con here. I also love it. I think that's great. I don't really have any complaints about her design, except for I kind of wish she was a little bit more undertuned, right? So the exact same concept here, but I want her cards to be a little bit weaker, because I think in True Solo, she might be too powerful, and I don't know if I want another, like 2 S-tier heroes in one wave, right? Daredevil and Jessica Jones, both potentially being S-tier heroes, both potentially being the strongest hero in the game for True Solo, and all in one wave back to back coming out. That might be too crazy. So I'm a little bit worried about that, but like in terms of her actual design, I love it a lot. We talked about it in a live stream, but for like this right here, for like her action in Alter Ego, the Incognito mode, just something like, for example, to make it more undertuned, if this were to say Incognito mode action, change the hero form, and remove a counter from your alias investigations, you cannot change it back to Alter Ego form this phase. That I think would be a great way to balance her kit more. Okay, so let's talk about how easy it is for Jessica Jones to add evidence counters. Obviously, if you play like Snooping Around, you can add counters. If you defeat a side scheme, you can add 2 counters with the own effect of alias investigations. But each time you use a basic power, you get an evidence counter. So if you ready up with a card like Breakthrough, you can get double up on your counters for that turn. Jessica Jones has some really good cards to allow her to ready. So I think that there are 2 basic cards that are 100% auto includes for any Jessica Jones deck, because no matter what aspect you're playing her in, you want you can include basic cards, and you want to include 3 copies of both these cards. They're really good. So the first one here is in the Jessica Jones precon deck. It's called Joys of Life. It's a 0 cost basic event. It's Alliance. As an action, choose. You can either choose to exhaust a civilian alter ego, Jessica Jones does have the civilian trait here in Alter Ego to ready up a hero or ally. Or you can exhaust a hero or ally and ready a civilian Alter Ego. Okay, so the reason why it says aligns on the card is that the cost to pay for card, other heroes can help you do it, right? So that means if you play this event, someone else with a civilian Alter Ego, like Spider-Man Miles Morales, he can exhaust himself for you to write up a hero or ally. You can write up yourself or like another ally, right? The effect that I'm really looking at here for Jessica Jones for like multiplayer and True Soul, like just for her to use on her own, is the second effect there, where you can exhaust any hero or any ally, and you can ready up a civilian Alter Ego. Jessica Jones is a civilian Alter Ego. So, if you play Joys of Life, you can exhaust your ally, and you can ready up Jessica Jones. Okay, that's really good. That's like Earth's Mightiest Heroes, right? The reason we want to do that is because allies, whenever they activate, they usually take console damage. So like their activations are not as highly valued as like a hero activation where there's no negative effect. This is doubled up on Jessica Jones because whenever she activates, you get the evidence counter, but also she has a Thor stat of 3. So her activations are way more valuable. She probably has the most valuable basic activations in all of Marvel Champions for any hero. Whenever she's activating, she's doing tons of value for you, right? And she has the 3 Thor stat, right? Okay, so why is Joys of Life so good for her? Because you can only ready up an Alter Ego. Well, like we talked about all throughout for all of her cards, she has complete Alter Ego access every single turn. So let's say you're in hero form here right now, right? So if Jessica Jones Thors for 3, you can flip down to Alter Ego, play Joys of Life, exhaust any ally, then you ready up Jessica Jones in her Alter Ego form with the civilian trait, and you just flip back up to hero form and Thor again for 3. Same thing for attacking, right? You can just swing for 2, get a counter, flip down, play Joys of Life, flip back up, swing for 2 again. Okay, that's pretty good, okay? That's really, really powerful to have a way for her to ready. It's very, very high tempo. Another card that I think is all include for Jessica Jones is Ready to Rumble. This is an older card in a legacy environment, but this card right here, it's a 1-cost upgrade, and it's only max 1 player. You play it, it's on your table, but whenever you change up to hero form as a hero response, you can ready up. So if you're in hero form with Jessica Jones, let's say you're exhausted, right? You play Ready to Rumble, you can flip down with your 1 mana flip per turn to Alter Ego, trigger the Alter Ego ability Incognito mode, flip back up to hero form, and since you just flipped up to hero form, you can immediately proc the Ready to Rumble, discard it, and ready up Jessica Jones. It's essentially a limited stamina, a 1-cost basic card that can ready up Jessica Jones, and you don't have to trigger it that turn if you don't want to, but you can just use it as like an event if you want to, even though it's an upgrade, right? Because you can literally just play it, have Jessica Jones flip down, flip back up, and get the ready right away, or you can play and save it for like a future turn whenever you want that ready, right? You don't have to proc it. So like limited stamina is like a very good card, but only heroes with 14 printed hit points or more can include it in their deck. Well, Jessica Jones doesn't care. She can include the Ready to Rumble, and it's essentially a better limit stamina for her. So that's really, really powerful. And obviously, there's cards like Lay Down the Law and Surprise Attack and like Justice and Aggression, respectively, that work really well with Jessica Jones because she can always flip down and then flip back up to hero form to get that, that form flipping thing to trigger that ability. Moxie is also a very good card for her for leadership. So she has very good aspect hooks in every single aspect with that. Okay, so everything that I'm saying right now, she seems insanely powerful, and yeah, we're talking about that on a live stream. Yeah, she looks very, very good. Maybe too powerful for true solo because of just the evidence counters not scaling, for multiplayer. It means that it's just way better in true solo, and it might scale too well for true solo, even though for multiplayer, it's going to be more balanced because you'll need way more actual counters than the villain's actual like hit points. In 4 players, a lot of villains have over 100 health. It's going to be near impossible to get 100 counters on this card, and by the time that you do, the other players will probably taken down the villain themselves already, right? So yeah, so she looks insanely powerful. She can get a bunch of readies, she can swing a lot, or throw a lot with breakthrough, and just basic activations and readying, every single turn will give you more counters on your alias investigation. So that's very, very good. She's like at minimum putting like 1, 2, 3 counters on this per turn. If you're playing stuff like this, you can get up to like 5, 6, 7 counters in 1 turn, which is absolutely insane. Her cost curve is so cheap as well. So yeah, she looks insanely powerful. So after looking at cards a little bit more after live stream, I think maybe and hopefully I jumped the gun a little bit on her strength because I'm seeing some stuff now that may kind of reel her in, especially in true solo. So like we're talking about with the Joys of Life and with Ready to Rumble. The good thing is, and like the bad thing for Jessica Jones because it makes her like a little bit weaker, is that you can only play those cards like once per turn. right? They don't stack with each other, right? If you do have limited stamina in your hand and you have like 3 copies, you can attack, play one, ready up, attack again, play another one, ready up, attack again, and keep on doing that, right? Jessica Jones with the Joys of Life, yes, you can play 3 of them in one turn, but you can only ready up in civilian alter ego. So, if you flip down, right, if you're exhausted, you flip down to alter ego, you can play Joys of Life, ready back up. You can exhaust to heal, play another Joys of Life, exhaust another ally to ready back up. But then, like, if you flip out to hero form and you attack and then now you're like exhausted, you can't play another Joys of Life again, right? So the Joys of Life, you can't really give your hero more than one additional activation per turn. Just getting one is very good, but it won't be more than one, if that makes sense, right? Like for Earth's Minds Heroes, because it's a hero action, if you attack, you can play one, exhaust an ally, and avenge your ally, ready back up, attack again, play another one, exhaust another ally, ready up again. For Joys of Life, because you only ready up an alter ego, you won't be able to constantly flip over and over again in one turn to get all the rays from that, right? So it's still a really good card that you still definitely always want to include with Jessica Jones because it's an on-demand ready for her and it's very good tempo. But if you draw like 2 in one hand, you'll just use the other one as a resource because you only want to play one of them per turn. Same with the Ready to Rumble, right? That card also does not really stack, right? So it's whenever you change up to hero form, it's hero response, then you can discard it and ready up. If you're in hero form, right? Let's say you're exhausted, you flip down to alter ego, use the ability, flip back up to hero form, and you trigger that Ready to Rumble, right? And then you can ready up and you can activate or like do whatever you want. If you have another Ready to Rumble in your hand, you won't be able to trigger that one because you can't flip back down to alter ego again because you only have one manual flip per turn. So unfortunately, they don't stack. So like her like mass burst potential isn't going to be as good. However, I don't think that's that much of a detriment for her kit because with the way the Alias investigation works is that this is accumulating all of your burst damage in itself, right? Like you're getting all of that built out, all that burst damage built out through the Alias investigations. So like for the temple, all you gotta do is activate a lot per turn, get 2-3 evidence counters, in a single turn. And then whenever you're doing that, you are gradually building out the counters on Alias investigation. And once you get to like, 20, 21, 25, whatever, then you can just win the game after flipping the villain to their final stage, right? So, there is like a tactical way to play Jessica Jones, which I think is pretty fun. I hope that will balance her a little bit better. And looking at all of her cards in her kit from what we've seen, I do find there is a pretty nice like balance to how she works, right? So for example, her only Thor event is snooping around. This is, still a good Thor event. I wouldn't say it's a bad Thor event. It is a good Thor event. 0 for 4 threat is great. However, there is a potential negative effect every single time you play this card, right? This card is a risky Thor event. She has no other Thor event in her kit that does not have a risk, right? So like, if this was the only like way for her to Thor, you'd be like, that's kind of bad. Maybe she's not that strong of a hero. However, she has 3 printed Thor, so I think that balances that out, right? Or rather say the 3 printed, Thor stat line is so good that they balance that by putting in her only Thor event is a Thor event that has a potential really nasty effect by getting a potentially very nasty minion or a nasty side scheme. So this like does well with scaling with this, right? So I think that's a nice balance there. And also her damage is very weak. And I'm actually not a big fan of this because I feel like that, Jessica Jones canonically has superhuman strength. I feel like that's not portrayed very well in her kit thematically because her only attack event is a big mistake and it's a 1-cost event that just does, up to 5 damage, which, it is amazing for 1 cost, but it's not a lot of damage, right? And she only has 2 copies in her kit. So I feel like her damage is actually pretty lackluster. But once again, I get the balance of that, right? The reason why her damage is lackluster is because she wants to focus on thwarting and getting the evidence counts on your Alias investigations because that is her win condition. That's her primary win condition. And it's easier for her to win this way than actually like burst down and like do damage to the villain, right? So I get the balance there. I think that's a nice balance in the way that she's designed. And like all of that really just adds to me how amazing she looks and how amazing her design is. So like this is all like credit to the designer. Yeah, she has an amazing looking kit. Everything looks well balanced there. She's got aspect hooks in every single aspect with Moxie, lay down the law, surprise attack. She's got the perfect defense stuff going on here with the leather jacket, giving her more incentive to defend infinitely. You can ready her up a lot with like protection builds with like what doesn't kill me or like repurpose. You get a lot more value from her as well. So yeah, I mean, she looks, that might be a way to balance her out, and I hope that it does balance her, but she still looks insanely powerful, right? Because if you activate with her, and let's say you can get like one ready to turn, she's getting 2 evidence counters like through that. Let's say you play like, 3 copies of snooping around. I mean, that's gonna give you 6 more evidence counters. So like you can burst 8 evidence counters with just that in one turn. And all you need is like, 20 to 25 to kill like the third stage of a villain, right? So that's already 8 in one turn. Obviously, you'll play these, throughout the course of a game. But like throughout the course of the game, if you're getting more and more counters, you can just very quickly accumulate these evidence counters and just end any villain and just defeat them. So I like the theme that Jessica Jones is defeating the villain by actually like, finding evidence on them. It doesn't really match the best with like Thanos, because like no matter how many evidence you get against Thanos, you can't really put him in jail. But I think that's fun to do like an interaction there, like Jessica Jones versus Thanos or something like that. But yeah, that is what her kit looks like right here. And I want to give a huge shout out to Vince and Peter that mentioned in the comments section of the live stream that they believe that possibly, and I agree with them, that possibly the obligation in the Nemesis set for Jessica Jones will remove evidence counters from Alias investigations. And I really hope so, especially for the obligation. If she has something super nasty, like you must remove all evidence counters from your Alias investigations, that I would like that, because I think that will make her. I think she'll still be like an A tier level hero, but then that now there's like a luck factor involved to where like she's not gonna be like S tier, like the strongest hero in the game or anything like that. So hopefully all of those things happen with her kit, because I'm just from my initial impression of the live stream, I thought that she's potentially like the strongest hero in the game. But now that I looked at her cards a little bit more, I'm seeing some other stuff, and a lot of you guys have pointed stuff out to me that like maybe she's better balanced than I thought. Hopefully she's better balanced than I thought, but for sure for multiplayer, I think that she's gonna be fine. In True Soul, I'm just worried that she will break the game. But hopefully she doesn't with all the stuff that we said, and hopefully she has a nasty obligation, a nasty Nemesis minion. I mean, it's definitely going to be Killgrave, right? But yeah, hopefully all that stuff will remove the counters from her Alias investigation and keep her more well balanced. But yeah, that is going to be it for this video, guys. Let me know down in the comments, as usual, what do you think about Jessica Jones? Do you guys think Jessica Jones will be an S tier hero? Do you like how her kit is looking? And how do you feel about like how her kit is designed and like how she's balanced? Honestly, I mean, she looks great. I can't really complain. Yeah, I'm just a little bit worried for her strength, but either way, I think she's gonna be a pretty fun hero to play. I hope you guys all like this video. I'll see you guys all in the next one.